Let me tell you something that might go against everything you've been taught about dealing with people who hurt you. The best way to defeat them is not revenge. It's not confrontation. It's not even explaining yourself until they finally understand your side. In fact, if you're chasing revenge, you've already lost, because revenge is still letting them live rent-free inside your mind. It's still you dancing to their music, even if you think you're the one leading the steps. The Stoics, those ancient warriors of the mind, knew something powerful. Your greatest weapon is not your fists, not your voice, not even your intelligence. Your greatest weapon is self-control. It's the ability to stay calm when the world is trying to drag you into chaos. It's detachment, the skill of stepping back so far from the drama that it can't even touch you. It's the quiet, unshakable power of living well. You see, when someone tries to hurt you, whether it's through betrayal, insults, lies, or manipulation, the real wound isn't just what they say or do. The real wound is how much control they gain over your emotions. They want to push your buttons. They want to see you flinch. They want proof that they still matter in your world. And that's why the truest form of victory isn't proving them wrong. It's making them irrelevant. It's removing their influence over your thoughts, your actions, and your peace of mind. It's when they can no longer provoke you because you've built a fortress inside yourself. Think about this. If someone throws you a burning coal and you refuse to catch it, who gets burned? Not you. That's the essence of Stoic strength. You can't control what people do, but you have absolute power over how you respond. And here's the beautiful part. You don't even have to say a word. No grand speeches, no dramatic confrontations, no social media battles. Just actions so grounded, so elevated, so peaceful, that their attempts to harm you fall flat, like arrows hitting a stone wall. Because here's the truth, people who try to hurt you feed off your reaction. When you deny them that reaction, you starve them. You take away their fuel. You force them to face the reality that they have no power here. I know, it's tempting to strike back. It's tempting to expose them, humiliate them, or show the world what they really are. But here's what the Stoics teach us. Every moment you spend plotting revenge is a moment you've given them ownership of your life. And you, your peace, your happiness, are too valuable to hand over to someone who doesn't deserve it. So instead of playing their game, you create your own. You focus on building your life, your purpose, your joy. You rise so far above their reach that they can't even touch the hem of your progress. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt. The pain is real. The betrayal is real. But so is your ability to rise from it stronger. And when you do that, when you transform that pain into growth, you've not only protected yourself, you've won in the most complete way possible. This is the art of silent victory. It's a victory that doesn't require applause, doesn't demand recognition, and doesn't leave you drained. It's the victory of knowing you've reclaimed your power without spilling a drop of your dignity. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do exactly that. I'll give you the strategies to dismantle toxic influence in your life, quietly, effectively, and permanently. Not with anger, not with fear, but with the calm, unshakable strength of a Stoic. Because the truth is, the greatest revenge is not revenge at all. It's building a life so full, so rich, and so peaceful that the ones who tried to break you can do nothing but watch from a distance. Let's begin. Part 1. Why silence is a weapon. Let me ask you something. When someone disrespects you, lies about you, or tries to provoke you, what's the first instinct most people have? We fire back. We defend ourselves. We try to make them see the truth. But here's the hard truth. The moment you start defending yourself to someone who's not listening, you're already giving away your power. See, toxic people, manipulators, narcissists, bullies, they feed off reaction. That's their oxygen. That's their fuel. They say something outrageous not because it's true, but because they want to see if they can still pull your strings. And when you react, when you get angry, explain, defend, shout, or break down, you're confirming one thing to them. I still control your emotions. But what happens when you give them nothing? No expression, no energy, no emotional fuel, just silence. They don't know what to do with that. They lose the game they thought they were winning. They swing and hit air. This is where silence becomes your weapon. Silence isn't weakness. It's precision. It's self-mastery. It's saying, I see you, but I choose not to descend to your level. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." And that's more than a clever phrase. That's real power. Because sometimes the strongest statement is no statement at all. When someone throws a petty insult your way, let's say, at work, they expect you to bite, to react, to give them a performance. And when you don't, when you simply keep working, keep growing, keep showing up with composure, they fade. Their words echo into silence. Their influence collapses under the weight of its own irrelevance. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone try to stir up drama only to fail when nobody reacts? It's like throwing a tantrum in an empty room. Eventually they stop. That's the power of emotional detachment. And it's not about being cold or suppressing how you feel. It's about choosing your battles. It's about knowing that not everything deserves your attention. Not every jab deserves a punch back. Because what happens when you respond to someone's disrespect? You validate that they're worth your energy. But when you stay silent, you communicate something even louder. You're not important enough to disturb my peace. Let's be honest. It's not easy. Especially when someone lies about you or undermines you in front of others. Your pride wants to speak. Your ego wants justice. But here's the test. Who do you want to be? The person who rises above, or the person who gets pulled into the mud every time someone tries to bait them? Stoicism teaches us to draw a line between what's within our control and what's not. What someone says, not in your control. How you react, that's 100% yours. And once you realize that, once you stop taking every attack personally, you begin to see clearly. Most people's behavior is a reflection of them, not you. Your silence then becomes a mirror. And in that mirror, they're forced to confront their own pettiness without the distraction of your reaction. It's like watching a fire die out because there's no more wood to burn. That's why silence isn't passive. It's active. It's strategic. It's strength. Imagine this. Someone at work constantly tries to undermine you in meetings. They interrupt you, mock your ideas subtly, hoping you'll snap. But you don't. You stay calm. You contribute thoughtfully. You don't flinch. And what happens over time? The room starts to notice their bitterness, not your silence. You stay centered. They become noise. You didn't win by fighting. You won by refusing to fight where there was nothing to gain. This is what emotional mastery looks like. It's quiet. It's dignified. And it's untouchable. So the next time someone tries to bait you with toxic energy, pause, breathe. Remember, their goal is your reaction and your silence. That's the checkmate. Because when you stop giving emotional currency to those who haven't earned it, they go bankrupt. That's real power. That's Stoic power. And that's just the beginning. In the next part of this video, we'll explore how to build the inner discipline required to maintain this silence, not just once, but every time. Because silence is a weapon, but only in the hands of someone who's trained not to flinch. Stay with me. This is where we build that training. Part 2. Turning pain into power. Let's be real. Pain changes people. Betrayal, heartbreak, humiliation. These things cut deep. And for a moment, or maybe much longer, it feels like everything inside you is broken. Like your dignity was stolen, your trust shattered, and your worth questioned. But here's the truth. No one teaches you. Pain can become your fuel. Not the kind of fuel that burns you out with revenge or rage, but the kind that refines you. The kind that sharpens your edge, strengthens your spine, and turns your wounds into wisdom. Because while they were trying to break you, they were unknowingly handing you the raw material to rebuild yourself. Better. The Stoics had a powerful phrase for this. The obstacle becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius didn't just say it, he lived it. Every challenge he faced, he used as a stepping stone. Not a reason to collapse, but a reason to rise. And you can do the same. They betrayed you. Good. Now you see who never deserved a seat at your table. They doubted you? Perfect. Let that be the fire that wakes you up earlier, trains you harder, works you smarter. They tried to make you feel small. Then it's time to grow in ways they can't even comprehend. This isn't about pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about transmuting it, about channeling it into something powerful. You don't bury it. You build with it. So how do you turn pain into power? Start by pouring it into self-improvement. Go to the gym. Not for the six-pack, but for the discipline, the momentum, the confidence that grows with every drop of sweat. Invest in your mind. Read, learn, explore. Turn your nights of overthinking into nights of planning and learning. Elevate your finances. Use your energy to build, save, grow. Become the version of yourself that can walk away from anything, anyone, at any time. This kind of growth is the best retaliation, because it's not about them anymore. It's about you. Let me give you a picture. Imagine someone betrays your trust. They lie to you, use you, leave you hollowed out. That moment could break you. Or you could decide, I'm not going to waste another ounce of energy trying to get closure. I'm going to build a life so powerful, so peaceful, so purposeful, that they become a footnote in the story of my rise. You hit the gym consistently, not to impress, but to reclaim your body. You pour yourself into your craft, not to prove a point, but because you finally see what you're capable of. You show up, day after day, in silence, and let your results do all the talking. And guess what? One day, they might look up and see you. Not bitter, not broken, but glowing, thriving, untouchable. And in that moment, you'll realize they gave you pain, but you turned it into power. You won. You didn't win by arguing. You didn't win by getting even. You won by growing so far beyond them that they couldn't even recognize the person they once tried to destroy. That's the ultimate revenge, the one where you don't need to say a word. But here's the part most people miss. You have to choose to make this transformation, because pain doesn't automatically make you stronger. Pain is just pain, until you decide to shape it into something useful. You could let it harden you, or you could let it humble you. You could let it trap you, or you could let it train you. It's not easy. Growth never is. But you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be committed. One workout, one book, one new habit, one silent decision at a time. This is how Stoics became unshakable. Not because they never felt pain, but because they refused to waste it. They saw pain as a teacher. They saw struggle as preparation. They saw obstacles as the way forward, not something to avoid. And you can do the same. Every person who's ever tried to hurt you gave you something valuable, a reason to get better. And once you've used that reason, once you've become stronger, wiser, calmer, more resilient, they no longer have power, because you've outgrown the version of yourself they once wounded. That's when the pain turns into gratitude. Not because you loved the hurt, but because it revealed your strength. So, if you're hurting right now, I'm not here to tell you to get over it. I'm here to tell you, use it, build with it, rise from it. Let it fuel the next chapter of your life. Let the pain become the very thing that forces you to level up. And then, let your peace, your growth, your freedom be the loudest response you'll ever need to give. Because the truth is this: the most powerful version of you is born right after the moment you thought you couldn't take it anymore. And when that version shows up, there is no enemy left to fight, only mountains to climb. Let's keep climbing. Part 3. Emotional detachment. The path to inner freedom. Let's talk about something few people truly master, but every Stoic understood. Emotional detachment. Now I know that word, detachment, can sound cold, like shutting down or not caring, but that's not what I'm talking about. True emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't do the same for you. It means you no longer allow someone else's chaos to control your calm. You don't let someone else's immaturity rob you of your peace. Because here's what you need to understand. The people who try to hurt you want access to your emotions. They want to see that their words still haunt you, that their absence still ruins your day, that their games still hold power over your mind. But when you practice detachment, when you choose not to react, not to obsess, not to chase closure, you break that connection. You end their ability to manipulate you. You cut the emotional thread that's been used like a leash to yank you around. That's when you take your power back. And yes, it takes discipline. Because emotional detachment doesn't happen by accident. It's not as simple as just not caring. It's a choice you have to make every day. A choice to stop overthinking every text, every silence, every passive-aggressive jab. A choice to stop running in mental circles trying to figure out why they did what they did. A choice to stop looking back, hoping one day they'll apologize, explain, or finally see your worth. The Stoics had a word for this. Apatheia. Not apathy, not numbness, but freedom from destructive emotions. It's the state where your inner peace isn't shaken by external storms, where your calm is your castle, and no one gets to walk in uninvited. Think about this. Let's say you've been through a breakup. You keep checking their profile. You keep replaying old conversations. You keep wondering, what if I said this instead? What if they come back? But every time you do that, you're giving your energy away. You're keeping the wound open. You're letting someone who's already gone still live in your mind. Now imagine instead, you cut the cord. You stop checking. You stop hoping. You stop letting them rent space in your head for free. And suddenly, There's air again. There's space to breathe. There's clarity. You begin to realize they didn't take your peace. You gave it to them. And now you're taking it back. This is emotional detachment in action. It's not easy. It takes self-awareness, practice, and a deep belief that your peace is more important than your pride. You might still feel the pain. That's okay. But you stop feeding it. You stop entertaining thoughts that only lead you down a spiral. You treat your mind like sacred ground. And anything that doesn't serve your growth, it doesn't belong there. I want you to think about the people in your life who've triggered you the most. The ones who knew exactly what to say to break you, guilt you, or trap you in a cycle of anxiety. What happens when those same people get no emotional response? When their manipulation falls flat? They lose interest. They move on. They realize they can't control you anymore. And that's freedom. Because you're not emotionally numb. You're emotionally sovereign. You feel love. You feel loss. You feel disappointment. But you don't become those feelings. You don't let them drag you down or define your identity. This is what Stoicism teaches us. That our emotions are visitors, not rulers. That we can acknowledge our feelings without being consumed by them. That we can sit with pain without letting it drive. That's the real mastery. And here's the most beautiful part. Once you start detaching from the people and thoughts that used to control you, you create room. Room for stillness, room for joy, room for you. Because when your mind is no longer tangled in the noise of others, you start hearing your own voice again. Your intuition sharpens. Your focus returns. And you rise, not in chaos, not in noise, but in quiet power. So if you've been struggling to let go, if you've been stuck in loops of what if, why me, or maybe one day, take this moment to decide. I am done giving my peace to people who never earned it. I am done handing over control of my emotions to people who thrive on confusion. From this point forward, your energy is yours again. And anyone who wants access to it, they'll have to come with respect, with truth, with peace, because anything less deserves silence. Part 4. Disappear from their world. Sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to disappear, not to run away, not to hide, but to remove yourself, calmly, quietly, completely, from the world of those who once tried to control you. You see, the greatest punishment for someone who tried to manipulate you is the absence of your energy. Most toxic people don't actually care about you. What they care about is control, attention, access. So when you stop responding, when you stop giving updates, when you go silent and remove their ability to track your life, you create a vacuum. And in that vacuum, something strange happens. They start to wonder. They start to feel insecure. They start to feel the absence of the very thing they took for granted, you. It's no longer about what you say. It's about what they can't see anymore. And that mystery, that lack of access, that's the storm you leave behind. Let me be clear. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about ghosting people for the thrill of it. This is about protecting your peace by cutting off the supply line that toxic people rely on, your presence. Imagine you used to post updates online, maybe about your life, your workouts, your emotions, your achievements. They watched it all, silently, or not so silently, judging, comparing, waiting for signs of weakness. Now imagine that stops. You stop sharing. You stop showing up in the places they expect. You change your routines, your habits. You become unavailable, not in anger, but in strength. No warnings. No announcements, just calm, consistent distance. And suddenly, they can't keep tabs on you. They can't monitor your healing. They can't predict your next move. They can't poke at your wounds because they don't even know where you are anymore. Physically, emotionally, digitally, you vanished from their map. And in that silence, their control evaporates. They're left guessing. Did they move on? Are they doing better without me? Why aren't they reaching out? Why do I feel like I lost something, even though I pushed them away? That's the beauty of disappearing. It makes your absence louder than your presence ever was. And for you, it's freedom. You no longer feel the need to prove anything. You no longer carry the weight of being seen. You've stepped into the shadows, where growth happens quietly and peace flows freely. The Stoics would nod at this idea. They believed in withdrawing from noise, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Seneca said, "Withdraw into yourself, as far as you can." Why? Because in solitude, you remember your strength. In silence, you stop reacting and start reclaiming. Let's say someone broke your trust. They lied, manipulated, made you question your value. And now they expect you to chase, to explain, to linger around just in case they want to come back. But instead, you retreat. You don't argue. You don't beg. You don't even respond. You simply disappear from their emotional landscape, and you begin to build in private. You train in silence. You heal off the grid. You level up with no witnesses. That's when your transformation becomes unstoppable, because it's no longer performative. It's real. No applause, no validation, no external approval. Just you, rising in your own lane. And here's the twist. They will notice, but not in the way you think. They'll notice in the silence, in the blank screen where your life used to be, in the absence of drama, in the distance that suddenly feels so permanent. And when they do, it might trigger regret. It might trigger curiosity. It might trigger the same insecurity they once tried to put on you. But that's no longer your business, because you've left their world. And once you leave, you don't need to explain your exit. You don't owe closure to people who gave you chaos. You don't owe updates to people who only paid attention when it benefited them. You don't owe pieces of your peace to anyone who helped destroy it. Disappearing isn't disappearing when it's actually arriving back to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, someone watching this today needs permission to do the same. To stop checking, to stop posting for them, to stop orbiting someone who already threw you out of their universe. So here it is. You have permission to vanish, to become unavailable, to stop feeding the people who once starved you of love, honesty, or respect. And when you do, you'll realize the silence isn't empty. It's full of healing. It's full of space. It's full of you. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's stoic detachment in action. And in the end, they may wonder where you went, but you'll know exactly where you are. In peace, in power, and finally, out of reach. Part 5. Success as the final blow. Sometimes you don't need to clap back. Sometimes you don't need to explain your side of the story. You don't need to confront, prove, or seek closure. You just need to win silently. Because the most devastating blow to those who tried to break you is not your anger. It's your success. It's waking up one day and realizing you're finally free. Free from their drama, free from their control, free from the constant need to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. And now, you're living. You're glowing. You're building a life that doesn't include them, and never needed to. That's the ultimate revenge, not revenge at all. Just living so well that their absence becomes irrelevant, so far outgrowing the pain they caused that it shrinks into nothingness behind you. Let me ask you this. What happens when the ex who betrayed you sees you at peace in a relationship that respects you? What happens when the person who mocked your dreams watches you thrive in a business they thought would fail? What happens when the one who tried to tear you down realizes they were just a plot point in your rise? They feel it, not through your words, not through your bitterness, but through your unbothered, undeniable growth. And here's the thing. They didn't expect this. They expected you to fall apart. They expected you to get stuck in the grief, the anger, the questions. They expected you to stay broken long enough for them to feel like they mattered. But what they didn't expect was that their betrayal would build you, that their rejection would redirect you, that their silence would teach you to speak to yourself with more compassion than they ever could. That's what Stoicism teaches us. Focus on what you can build, not what you've lost. Don't waste your time fighting shadows. Don't look backward, hoping for justice from people who don't understand the concept. Instead, turn inward, then look forward. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Don't waste yours chasing validation from ghosts. Put that time into you, into your mind. Read, learn, expand. Into your body, move, strengthen, heal. Into your career, create, grow, lead. Into your spirit, breathe, forgive, rise. Because the truth is, your next chapter doesn't need their name in it. You don't need their applause to move forward. You don't need them to finally get it. You don't need justice to start over. You need discipline, vision, silence, and action. One day, they'll look you up, and what they'll find is someone they no longer recognize. Not because you changed out of bitterness, but because you evolved with grace. No passive-aggressive posts. No loud declarations. No look at me now energy. Just results. Just peace. Just momentum. And if they feel regret, let them. If they wonder why you didn't come back, let them. If they realize they fumbled something great, let them sit with it. But you've got things to build. Because when you stop pouring energy into revenge, you start pouring it into legacy. And a legacy built in silence will always speak louder than 1,000 arguments. Let me give you a story. There was a man who was deeply betrayed by his closest friend. It shattered his trust and almost cost him his business. Instead of fighting, suing, or slandering, he poured everything into rebuilding. Day by day, he focused on his clients, on his team, on his product. 5 years later, his company was 10 times bigger, and the former friend was nowhere to be found. Someone asked him, "Aren't you angry he got away with it?" He smiled and said, "Got away with what? I got my life back. I got peace. I got better." That's what success does. It doesn't erase the past. It just makes the past smaller, and the future unstoppable. So if you're still trying to figure out how to get back at someone who wronged you, pause. Ask yourself, what if my energy is better spent building something they'll never be part of? What if your growth, your glow, your grounded peace is the loudest message of all? Because when you win, not for revenge, not for show, but for you, there's nothing left to prove. You've already won, so focus on the build, Silence the noise. Rise quietly. And when they finally realize what they lost, it won't even matter anymore, because you'll be too busy becoming someone greater than they ever imagined. That, my friend, is the final blow. Part 6. Protect your energy. Guard your peace like a fortress. Let's make something very clear. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every insult needs a response. Not every battle is worth fighting. In fact, most of them aren't. And the sooner you realize this, the more peace you'll have. Not because life gets easier, but because you get better at choosing where your energy goes. That's the hidden power no one talks about enough. The ability to say no, not just to people, but to drama, negativity, chaos, gossip, guilt, expectations, energy-draining conversations, meaningless arguments. We live in a world that constantly tries to drag you into noise, to make you believe that staying silent is weakness, that walking away means you lost, that not reacting is avoidance. But the truth is, it's wisdom. Because every time you give your energy to something beneath you, you steal from your own growth. Imagine your energy like currency. You wake up every morning with a full account, 100%. And throughout the day, you decide how to spend it. A petty argument? That's 10%. Responding to a jealous coworker? 15%. Getting involved in family drama that doesn't concern you? 20%. And by the time you get to the things that actually matter, your peace, your purpose, your passions, you're running on empty. So here's the shift. Guard your energy like it's your life, because it is. Say no unapologetically. Walk away without explaining. Let people misunderstand you. Let them gossip. Let them twist your silence. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. That's not cold. That's clarity. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are disturbed by external things, it is not they that trouble you, but your own judgment of them." In other words, you're not tired because of what's happening. You're tired because you're letting too much of it in. So stop opening the gates for every passerby who knocks. Your peace is a fortress, not a marketplace. Let me give you a simple example. You're at work. The gossip starts. People are whispering about someone's mistake, someone's relationship, someone's promotion. You feel the pull, the invitation to chime in, but instead you smile politely and walk away. Guess what you just did? You protected your energy. You preserved your integrity. You kept your mind focused on things that actually grow your life, not shrink your soul. That's a win. Or maybe it's a family member who always wants to stir something up. Every phone call is another guilt trip, another comparison, another complaint. But this time, instead of diving into the drama, you set a boundary. You listen kindly, but you don't absorb. You empathize, but you don't engage. You hang up the phone, still at peace. That's what Stoic strength looks like. It's not just about enduring hardship. It's about mastering where your emotional energy flows. You don't need to fight every fight. You don't need to respond to every jab. You don't need to fix every misunderstanding. In fact, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Silence, stillness, space. These are your tools now. You're not avoiding life. You're choosing life. You're choosing peace over proving a point, growth over gossip, purpose over pettiness. Because here's the truth. Every moment you spend defending yourself is a moment you're not building yourself. Every ounce of energy wasted on battles that don't serve you is stolen from the mission that does. So ask yourself, is this argument worth your clarity? Is this conversation worth your confidence? Is this connection building you or draining you? And if the answer is no, protect your energy, not with anger, not with revenge, Not with harsh words, but with peace, with boundaries, with distance. Because the older you get, the more you realize peace is expensive, and you can't afford to give discounts anymore. Let people think you're distant. Let them think you've changed. Let them wonder why you don't react the way you used to, because you have changed. You're not fueled by ego anymore. You're fueled by alignment. You're not triggered by every little thing anymore. You're rooted. You don't run toward the fire. You sit in the stillness and watch it burn out on its own. That's power. That's stoicism. That's self-mastery. So from here on out, remember, your peace is your responsibility. Protect it. Guard it. Defend it like a sacred flame. Because once you learn to protect your energy, you become untouchable. And those who once fed off your chaos, they'll find themselves starving. Because you're no longer available for battles that don't build you. Part 7. Become unreachable. The final stage of power. There's a level of strength that doesn't look like strength at all. No fists raised, no words spoken, no proof needed. Just silence, just calm, just presence. And it's in that space where you become unreachable. Not unreachable because you're hiding. Not because you're running away. But because you've mastered your inner state to the point that nothing outside of you can shake it. This is the final stage. The highest form of revenge. The quietest, yet most powerful victory there is. You're not trying to win anymore, because you've already transcended the game. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked past someone who once hurt you and felt nothing? No anger, no butterflies, no fear, no desire to prove anything. Just complete, grounded indifference. That moment, that's freedom. That's what it feels like to become unreachable. Because you're no longer triggered by their words, their presence, or even their existence. You've taken your power back, and you've sealed it inside you. And here's the truth. This doesn't come from pretending. It doesn't come from pushing your emotions down or putting on a show. It comes from doing the work, from healing, from rising, from every silent choice you made not to react, from every time you chose growth instead of revenge, from every boundary you held, every storm you walked through alone. This is what the Stoics meant by mastery of the self, not being numb, but being in control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you realize that your inner world is your domain, and that no one gets to trespass unless you allow it, you become untouchable. Let me paint a picture. Years ago, someone betrayed you. You were devastated, angry, lost. You tried to understand why. You replayed conversations. You wanted closure. You wanted justice. But then you let go. You built your peace. You climbed. You grew. You evolved. Now, imagine running into them again, in public, out of nowhere. They notice you. Maybe they even try to speak. But inside you, there's no chaos, no burning, no storm, just clarity. You smile, maybe you nod, and you move on, with no need to look back. That's not bitterness, that's transcendence. Because the person they hurt doesn't exist anymore. You've become someone entirely new, someone they can't manipulate, someone they can't read, someone they can't reach. That's the goal, to rise to a level where your peace is so deep, so grounded, that even the memory of pain no longer carries weight, to walk through fire and come out the other side, cool, calm, and composed. Not because it didn't hurt, but because you refused to let the fire define you. That's what being unreachable means. You no longer need revenge because they no longer have relevance. You don't need closure because you gave it to yourself. You don't need validation because you already know who you are. It's not that you don't remember the pain. It's that you're not living in it anymore. You've made peace with the past, and now you're fully present in your power. And here's what's even more beautiful. When you become unreachable, you don't just protect yourself from old enemies. You protect yourself from future ones too. Because the people who sense strength in silence, they won't waste time trying to control you. The ones who thrive on emotional chaos, they'll move on quickly, because they can't feed off someone who's no longer reactive. That's Stoic strength. You become the mountain, still, solid, unmoved by passing storms. The world can swirl around you, but inside, it's calm. And isn't that the kind of life we all crave? Not one without difficulty, but one where you remain whole no matter what comes your way. Where your energy isn't dictated by the moods or motives of others. Where your inner world is no longer a battlefield, but a sanctuary. So if you're wondering how to get back at someone who hurt you, don't. Get beyond them. Level up so far that the very idea of revenge feels like a distraction. Become unreachable. Let your peace say what your words no longer need to. Let your silence say what your anger never could. Let your success whisper what revenge always tried to scream. Because when you become unreachable, you're not just free from them. You're free from needing anything from them. And that, my friend, is the final form of power. So now you know, the most powerful way to destroy those who tried to hurt you is not with words, not with vengeance, not with a dramatic return. It's with silence, with stillness, with self-mastery. You don't need to fight fire with fire. You don't need to prove your worth to people who are blind to it. And you certainly don't need to waste your peace trying to fix what someone else broke inside themselves. You win by walking away and never looking back. Because here's the truth most people miss. The moment you stop giving them your attention, your emotional reactions, your energy, you've already won. You rob them of the one thing they wanted most: control. They wanted to see you react, to see you spiral, to feel important by leaving a wound behind. But when you heal, when you rise, when you become untouchable, they lose. Quietly, completely, permanently. That's the art of the silent victory. No arguments, no explanations, no revenge plots. Just results, just growth, just you. Living a life so powerful, so peaceful, so disciplined, that they become irrelevant. You don't destroy them with rage, you destroy them with progress. You outgrow them, you outlast them, and in doing so, you erase their power over your mind and your heart. And maybe right now, you're still healing, still wondering if peace is possible, still carrying that betrayal, that heartbreak, that disappointment. But let me tell you something. You don't have to stay in that place, because everything they did to try to break you can be converted into strength, into purpose, into self-respect, so unshakable, they'll have no place in the future you're building. Think about this. What if the real revenge is no longer being bothered at all? What if the highest form of justice is becoming someone who walks past them without a single shift in emotion? That's not indifference. That's liberation. That's what the Stoics called freedom from disturbance, apatheia. Not because you stopped feeling, but because you stopped chasing things that hurt you. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were never really listening. You stopped fighting battles that only distracted you from your mission. You stopped letting your peace be a playground for anyone else's chaos. And you started choosing you. That's the revenge. That's the transformation. That's the new chapter. So here's the final message I want to leave with you today. Let your life speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your discipline speak. Let your healing, your boundaries, your quiet joy be the loudest statement you ever make. Because you don't need to shout to be powerful. You just need to become so grounded that nothing shakes you anymore. Not their words, not their silence, not their presence, not their past. You've already won the moment you decided to no longer be controlled by the hurt. You've already won the moment you turned pain into progress. And you've already won the moment you realized you are no longer the same person they tried to break. You are wiser, stronger, calmer, quieter, but not weaker. Still, but not stagnant. At peace, but not passive. And from this point forward, you owe them nothing. Not your anger, not your closure, not your attention, not even your memory. Because your future, it's too valuable to carry them into it. If this message spoke to something deep in you, if you're ready to stop reacting and start rising, then join this journey of becoming. Subscribe. Share this with someone who needs that reminder, and leave a comment below with one thing you're letting go of, for good. Let's walk this path together. Calmly, powerfully, stoically. And remember, you don't need to fight them. Just become someone they can never reach again. I'll see you in the next video. Stay grounded, stay focused, stay free.